Hey, what's up everyone? How you doing? Doing okay? Good to hear that. Today we're studying Daf Ayin Zayin, Daf 77 of Masechta Shabbos. Kind of interesting Daf. The first like half of the Daf, the first Amud is like kind of Gemara-y kind of thing. So we're trying, figuring out what's like the minimum share of a kos shel bracha, or really how much like wine concentrate do you need to put in a kos shel bracha. And then we talk about, like equivalence between liquids and solids. I guess you'll see. And then the like entire second half of the page is pretty agodic, let's say. So this is what we have in store for us today. So let's get started. We're going to start on Daf Ayin Vav Amud Beis at the Gemara. So the first thing that we said yesterday in the Gemara is Hamotzi. The first thing that we said in our Mishnah yesterday at the beginning of the 8th parak of Shabbos is Hamotzi Yain Kedei Mizigas Hakos. Okay? So when a person takes out to Rishus Harabim on Shabbos wine, so it has to be enough of this sort of wine concentrate in order to then dilute it with water, and then you would drink it. Okay? So, says the Gemara, Tana, Kidei Mizigas Kos Yofe. Okay? So we have a Tosefta, which says, in order to mix with water a Kos Yofe. Okay? Now, Umay Kos Yofe, what is a nice, beautiful cup? So, Kos Shel Bracha, the answer is, a Kos Yofe is a Kos Shel Bracha, a blessing, a cup that you make a blessing on, such as if you're going to do Birkat Hamazon, if you're going to bench, and you're going to do B'Mevarich ala Kos, you're going to have a Kos Shel Bracha, like we learned in Masechta Brachos, when you bench. So that would be a Kos Shel Bracha. Okay? Amr Rav Nachman, Amr Rabba bar Avua. So it says Rav Nachman in the name of Rabba bar Avua. What does he say? Kos Shel Bracha, tzarich sheyehebo rova revius. Okay? So Rav Nachman says the name of Rabba bar Avua, that a kos shel bracha has to have 1/4 of a revius of wine concentrate, kidei sheimzigenu v'yamad revius, so that you will then mix this wine concentrate with 3 parts of water, and once you've done that, you will then have a revius of this wine that you're now going to drink. And that would be the minimum shear for a kos shel bracha. Revius, of course, being 1/4 of a log. So, Rava afana nami tanina. So now Rava says we can actually learn out this teaching of Rav Nachman named Rabba bar Avua, that the minimum shear for a kos shel bracha is 1/4 of a revius of wine concentrate. So Rava says you can actually learn this out just straight up in our Mishnah. Why? Because what does our Mishnah say? Hamotzi yain kedei mizigas kos. Okay, because our Mishnah says that to be chayiv for taking out wine on Shabbos, you have to take out enough wine concentrate that you would then mix it with water, and then you would get your cup of wine that you're drinking. V'tani alam, we taught about it in the Tosefta that we just learned. Kedei mizigas kos yafe. That when we say enough wine concentrate to then mix it with water for a cup, we're talking about a kos yafet, which is a kos shel bracha. Okay, fine. Vikatane seifa, and then if we continue reading our Mishnah, what does it say? Ushar kol hamashkin b'revius, that all other types of drinks, liquids, would be a revius. So what Rava wants to say is that basically the default amount of liquids in our Mishnah that you'd be chayiv for taking out on Shabbos is a revius. Okay? Now, if we're going to apply that to wine concentrate, and we're saying that we're talking about a kos shel bracha, so whatever we're going to conclude here by this wine concentrate is going to be applicable to a kos shel bracha. So we're saying that wine concentrate, enough to then mix it with wine, so it would have to be enough to get to a revius, right? Because we're talking about a revius of liquids, right? Because that's shar mashkin b'revius, right? The default for mashkin is revius. And the thing with wine concentrate is that you're actually going to be mixing it with water, so you need less of it to start out with, okay? And we're saying that the end goal is to get to a revius of this wine concentrate, to be like all of the other mashkin, okay? And it says, V'Rava l'taime, says the Gemara, the Amar Rava, kol chamer d'lodari al chad plus maya lav chamerhu. That Rava says that any wine concentrate that you're not going to add 3 parts of water in order to dilute it to the proper degree. So, if you don't have to add that much water, then it's not real wine. I mean, it has to be strong enough that you're going to add 3 parts water, and then, only then you can drink it. So therefore, if we kind of put all the pieces together, Rava's arguing that you can learn out from our Mishnah that all you need for a kos shel bracha is 1/4 of a revius of wine concentrate. How is that so? Because, we said that our Mishnah is talking about a kos shel bracha. Okay? Now, we also know that our Mishnah, that it says in our Mishnah that the default amount of liquids that you would be chayav for taking out on Shabbos is a revius. Okay? Now, Rava holds that you would be adding 3 parts water to 1 part wine concentrate, right, in order to make it drinkable. So that means if the end goal is to get to a revius, to be like all the other mashkin in the Mishnah, and we know that our Mishnah, when it says kos, it's talking about a kos shel bracha, and we know that it takes 3 parts of water to 1 part of wine. So what do you see? That all you need is 1/4 of a revius of wine concentrate, to which you will add 3 parts water to, right, to get our revius to be like all the other mashkin in the Mishnah. And we know that the cup of wine in our Mishnah is talking about a kos shel bracha, so there you have it. From our Mishnah, we have learned that a kos shel bracha, all you need is 1/4 of a revius of wine concentrate. And therefore, I don't necessarily need Rav Nachman, the name of Rabbi Bar Avua, to teach me that a kos shel bracha needs 1/4 of a revius of wine concentrate. I can actually just deduce that from our Mishnah. So now, Amar Abaye says to Rava, however, shtei tshuvas bedavar. I can ask you 2 questions about what you just said, because Rava, you are making 2 assumptions, and I'm going to question both of those assumptions. Chada, assumption number 1 that you're making, is that it's 3 parts water to 1 part wine. However, Ditnan, we have a Mishnah in Nida that says, ve'amazug shnei chelkei mayim ve'echad yain min hayayin hashironi. That when it comes to diluting wine, it's actually going to be 2 parts water to 1 part wine, and this is talking about shironi wine, okay? So that's question number 1. Rabba, why are you just assuming that the formula for diluting wine is 3 parts water to 1 part wine, when we have a Mishnah in Nida that says that diluting wine would be 2 parts water to 1 part wine? Ve'od, and question number 2 says, Abaye, mayim bechad umitzdarfen? 1 second. Rava, why are you assuming, right, that we're, meaning you're saying that all of the other liquids in the Mishnah are revius, and therefore we want to say that when it comes to the wine in the Mishnah, we have to be adding, we have to take into account how much water are we adding to the wine to get to a revius. But says Abaye, why are we taking into account that water, right? Mayim bechad umitzdarfen, you have water that's still in the jug that you haven't actually mixed yet with the wine, and we're taking that into account for how much, wine, what the shear of wine concentrate is, because we're going to be adding water that's currently not, that's currently just sitting in some other vessel. We're going to add to it and get to our revius. So, Amalei Rava. So Rava responds to Abaye, I'll answer you on both of your questions. When you're asking me about that Mishnah in Nida that says that you add 2 parts of water to 1 part wine, well, as it says in that Mishnah, that it's shironi wine. Yain hashironi lichud derafi. Yain hashironi is very soft, and because it's very soft, it doesn't really need that much water in order to kind of like break it up and kind of get the mixture that we want. And that's why all you need is 2 parts. But sort of regular wine that isn't yain hashironi, you would need 3 parts water to wine. Inami, or else, I can give you a different answer. Hasa mishum chazusa, avalatayma bayitfei. Or a different way I can answer your question from the Mishnah Nida is that what's the Mishnah Nida talking about over there? It's talking about the color of dam nida, right? what's considered the color that the dam needs to be in order to be considered dam nida. And one of the things that the Mishnah says is the color of, if you take wine and dilute it with 2 cups of water, that is the sort of, I think hue is the correct word, or the shade. That is like the shade of red that we are looking for. But that has nothing to do with drinking wine. That has to do with like a science experiment. Kilu, if you take wine and you add 2 parts of water to it, that is the shade of red that we're looking for. That doesn't necessarily mean that you would drink wine that you've diluted with 2 parts water. Rava is going to argue that in order to drink wine, you would dilute it with 3 parts water. But, the color of wine, getting a certain color out of concentrated wine versus, what wine you would actually drink are 2 different things. So therefore, Rava is going to stick to his assertion that you would mix wine concentrate with 3 parts of water. And Abai, the next question that you asked is like, why am I taking into account water that isn't currently mixed together with this wine concentrate? Well, the Indian Shabbos midi the chashiv ba'inan, v'hanami ha-chashiv, right? Rava says the point when it comes to Shabbos is not like actually mixing water with wine. The point is what's considered significant to be considered, relevant for the malacha of hotzah, right? And Rava is saying that enough of wine concentrate that if you were to add water to it and it would make a revius, that would then be considered enough, significant enough to be shaykh to hotzah on Shabbos. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you actually have to be adding water to it. Okay, fine. Okay, so that's how Rava wants to argue that you can actually learn out this halacha that the minimum requirement for wine concentrate in a kos shel bracha is going to be 1/4 of a revius, right? Because we can basically learn out from piecing together all the information that we have from our Mishnah that mixing 1/4 of a revius of wine concentrate with 3 parts water would get you your revius of wine to be like all the other liquids in the Mishnah, and we know that the Mishnah is talking about a kos shel bracha. Tana, we learn in a brisa, Yavesh bichzayis divrei Rabbi Nosson. Okay, so Rabbi Nosson says that if you're going to have wine, okay, and you're going to have a revius of wine, so if you're going to dry out this revius of wine until there's it's just like a solid kind of block of wine concentrate stuff, so you're going to be left with a kazayas of this sort of congealed, dried out wine. Okay, basically 1 revius of wine kind of shrivels up when its liquid kind of dissolves and becomes a kazayas. Okay, and the inverse is also correct, meaning if you have a kazayas of dried wine, it is the equivalent of a revius of liquefied wine. Amr of Yosef, fine, that's Reb Noson's opinion. So Amr of Yosef, Reb Noson, Reb Yosef, Reb Yehuda, Amru davar echad. Now Reb Yosef wants to argue that Reb Noson agrees with Reb Yosef, Reb Yehuda, that Reb Noson, Reb Yosef, Reb Yehuda are in the same camp. Why? So Reb Noson hadamar. So Reb Noson, that which we said, that a revius of wine, of liquefied wine, is the equivalent of a kazayas of dried wine. Reb Yosef, Reb Yehuda, Detanya. In Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, we have a brisa which says, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, says Rabbi Yehuda, this is a Mishnah in Edios, and he testified, Rabbi Yehuda testified, Shisha Dvarim Mikule Beis Shammai Umichuma Beis Hillel, that there are 6 things where Beis Shammai is Mekil and Beis Hillel is Machmir. Of course, generally, Beis Hillel is the more lenient opinion, but says Rabbi Yehuda that he can think of 6 examples where Beis Shammai is the one being lenient and Beis Hillel is the one being stringent. Now, as Rashi points out, there are more than 6 instances, but these are just 6 instances that Rabbi Yehuda pointed out in Masechta Edios. So, and what he says, and we bring one of the examples here, which is dam nevela. When it comes to the blood of a nevela, an animal that just wasn't shechted, that was just dead, and we say that a kizayis from nevela, from just a carcass of an animal that wasn't shechted, so is mitame, right? A kazayis of a unshechted animal, of a nevela, is mitame, is in avatuma to be mitame people. Okay. So now Beis Shammai mitarin. So Beis Shammai says that the blood of a nevela, so not a kazayis of meat, but just the blood. So Beis Shammai says it's tahor. It won't be mitame a person, right? Beis Hillel matamen. Beis Hillel says that the blood of a nevela would be able to be mitame, a human being. Okay? Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, now says Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, Af kishetimu Beis Hillel lo timu el bedam sheyesh bo revius. Aha. So then Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda points out that even when Beis Hillel says that the blood of a nevela can be mitame a person, it's only if there is a revius of blood from a nevela. Hoil v'yachol likrosh v'lamod al kazayis. Since if you have a revius of blood, if it dries out and congeals, it will be the size of an olive. So that is why, and an olive is the amount of size by a nevela that will be matame a person. So therefore, Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda explains Beis Hillel, who say that the blood of a nevela is able to be matame a person, that there has to at least be a revius, right? A quarter of a log of blood, because a revius, when it dries out, will be the equivalent of a kazayas, which is the amount that will be matame a person. So we see that both Reb Nassan and Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda hold, right? Reb Nassan in the context of wine and Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda in the context of blood, that when you that a revius of liquid will dry into a kazayas of sort of the dried out version of that liquid. Now, Amar Abaye responds to Rav Yosef and he says, maybe Reb Nassan and Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda wouldn't necessarily agree. Because Dilma, maybe it's not true that they agree. Ad kan lo ka'amar Reb Nassan hacha debai revius, that when Reb Nassan says that by wine, one revius of wine is the equivalent of a kazayas of dried wine, so elabayayin de kalish, that is only by wine which is like more liquidy than blood. Blood is thicker than wine. So he's saying that in order to get a kazayas of dried wine, you need as much as a revius of liquefied wine, and as the liquid goes away and it starts drying out, it'll dry into a kazayas. Avabadam de samich, however, blood which is thicker, kazayas lo ba'i revius. In order to get to a kazayas of dried out blood, you would not need a full revius of liquefied blood. You would need less than that, because since the blood is already thick, to get to your kazayas, you wouldn't necessarily need as much as a revius, it would be less. So therefore, maybe Reb Nassan and Reb Yossi Rabbi Yehuda don't agree, right? Because while Reb Nassan would say that by wine, you would need as much as a revius of wine to get to kazayas, maybe he would say that by blood, you wouldn't necessarily need a revius. Even less than that would be enough, because it's thicker and it doesn't need to reduce as much to get to that kazayas. Inami, or you could take it from the other side. Ad kan lo kamer Reb Yossi Rabbi Yehuda hasum de kazayas sagile berevius, right? Maybe Reb Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, when it comes to blood, that's where he says that all you need is a revius in order to get to a kazayas of blood. Right. Meaning, when it comes to blood, Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda says that a kazayas of dried blood, right, it would take a revius of liquefied blood to get to that kazayas. But maybe that's only because blood is thick. What if, when it came to wine, which is thinner, maybe you would say you would even need more than a revius. But wine, which is more liquidy, so then kazayas have a yoser mi revius, right? If you have a kazayas of dried up wine, it would actually be the equivalent of a lot more liquefied wine. So v'chimapik pachos mikazayas l'chayev, and therefore, since you're chayev for bringing out a revius of wine, so that would translate to actually less than a kazayas of dried wine, according to Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. So therefore, Abaye wants to say that you cannot necessarily assume that Reb Nassan and Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda were to agree, even though they both seem to be saying that, there's a context where you have liquid that translates into a kazayas of I guess, more solid, more dried, congealed, but Reb Nassan in the context of wine and Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda in the context of blood wouldn't necessarily be equivalent. Alright, now we start getting into a whole bunch of agadic kind of stuff. So, okay, the Mishnah had said chalav k'dei gemia, right? So milk enough that you can take a gulp of it. That's when you will be chayav for taking it out on Shabbos. So now, Ibailu, they want to know, k'dei gemia or k'dei gemia, right? So enough to for a gemia with an aleph or gemia with an ayin. I'm not sure if there's enough gemina, but that's what we want to know. Amar Rav Nachum bar Yitzchak, hadmi'ini na ma'at ma'im mikadech. So Eliezer, when he goes to find a wife for Yitzchak and he finds Rivka, he says, hey, can you give me some water from your jug? And Hagmi'ini is written with an aleph. Ibailu, they ask a kasha, kar'inin o gar'inin. Yesterday we talked about removing a pit from like a fruit in order to calculate the shear of a dried fig. So over there, so we want to know, is it gar'inin with an aleph or with an ayin? Amar Rava bar Ula, v'nigra me'erkecha. This was a pasuk in last week's parsha. So it says v'nigra me'erkecha, and it will be whatever you subtract something from its value in determining the value of real estate. So that is with an ayin, okay? Ibayu, they want to know omimos. So omimos, when we talk about dimming coals, like in the context of cooking on Shabbos and heat, so is that with an aleph or an ayin? Amar of Yitzchak bar Avdimi, arazim lo amamuhu, began elokim. It's a pasuk in Yechezkel. It says that no, it's I believe talking about what was it, the king of Bavel, I think, and it was saying how it's like Paro, I think, Mitzrayim, and it says that he was like a cedar tree, and none of the other cedar trees were able to dim him, and over there it is with an ayin. Ibailu, they want to know me'amtzin tanan or me'amtzin. When it says me'amtzin in a Mishnah on Kufnun Aleph, is it with an aleph or an ayin? Amar B'chia bar Abba, Amar B'yochanan ve'otzem einav me'ros bira, and he closes his eyes from seeing anything bad, so that is with an ayin. Okay. Tanarbanan, the rabbis taught, hamotzi chalav shabehema kidei gemia. So somebody who takes out enough animal milk in order to take a gulp from it. Okay. Chalav shel isha v'lovin shel beitza, enough women's milk or the white of an egg, kidei litain b'mishifa shel kilor, enough that you would put into some kind of like eye bandage. I guess you put women's milk in eye bandages? Okay. Kilor k'dei lishof b'mayim. Now the actual size of the bandage itself, enough that you would put like enough water on it for both eyes. Bayir of ashi k'dei shifa or k'dei achiza v'shifa teku. Does the bandage have to be enough to kind of soak the entire thing in water? But do you also need to leave some part, add to that size part that enough for holding the bandage as well? And we don't know the answer to that. Dvash k'dei litain ala kosis, enough honey to put on an open wound. So Tana, we learn in a Brayse k'dei litain al pi kosis, to put on the opening of the wound. By Rav Ashi, now Rav Ashi wants to know, al kosis apum dechule kosis, oduma amur shakama techosis, lafuke hodrana, delo, teku. So Rav Ashi wants to know, do you have to put it like just on the kind of woundy part of the wound, just like the open area, the real ground zero of the wound? But what about like the sort of surrounding areas of the wound where, I don't know, maybe it's like getting kind of crusty and stuff. So do you put the honey there too? So we don't know. So I don't know. Just I guess, I just make your own decision, I guess. Amar Yehuda Amar Rav, says Rav Yehuda in the name of Rav, Kol masha bara Kadosh Baruch Hu ba'olamo lo bara davar echad levatala. Oh. So says Rav Yehuda in the name of Rav that everything that God created in this world, He did not create anything for no reason. And this is actually an interesting Gemara. Let's see. So bara shavlu likasis. Okay, so He created snails so that you could put them on open wounds. Sweet. Bara zvuv litzira. If you get a wasp bite, so you take a bug, a fly, you crush it up, you put it on the wasp bite. So now yitush lenachash. This is interesting. That the Eibishter created mosquitoes to treat snake bites. I always wonder, like, why the heck do we have mosquitoes? They're so freaking annoying. Well, there's your answer. I guess if you get bit by a snake, you just take a mosquito, crush it up a little bit, put it on the snake bite. Good to go. V'nachash lechafafis. And if you have a rash, so you like take a snake and kind of, I guess, crush it up a little bit and put it on the rash, I guess. Okay. Sounds good. V'samamis. So the Sefaria translated as a gecko, but Rashi seems to be translating it as some kind of a spider, and I think I like that translation better, the spider translation. So v'samamis la'akrav. So if you get a scorpion bite, I guess you take some kind of a spider and you like crush it up and put it on the scorpion bite. Heichi avadle ma'isi chada uchama v'chad chivara v'shalkilu v'shayfela. So you, I guess, take like two, I guess, spiders or geckos, I don't know, and then you, one of them is white, one of them is black, and you boil them, and then you put it on the scorpion bite. Alright? Tanarbanan, the rabbis taught, Chamisha Amos Hain. There are 5 types of fears. Now, if you count, the Gemara is actually going to list 6 types of fears. So the Sefaria actually included the next few words as sort of part of the description. So, Chamisha Amos Hain, there are 5 types of fears, and all of them describe a maschalash al gibor. And all of these examples are the fear of, right, the fear that somebody or something weak has on somebody or something that is much stronger than him. So emas mafgia al ari, there's some kind of mafgia animal that I guess makes a loud noise, and it's able to, even though it's pretty small and weak compared to a lion, but it nonetheless can scare away a lion. Emas yitush al apil, elephant is scared of mosquitoes because a mosquito can get in its trunk and then like cause problems. Emas samamis ala akrov, I guess a scorpion is scared of a spider because it can like get in its ear or something. Emas sanunis ala nesher, the fear that a swallow induces in a eagle, because I guess a swallow can somehow, which is like a smaller bird, can get stuck in like the wing of an eagle, and then the eagle won't be able to fly very good, and I guess it'll fall. Emas kilvis al livyasan, and the fear that some kind of small little sherets can have on a whale, because it can also like get inside of it and cause problems. Amar Yud Amarav Maikra Hamavlig showed al az. And what's the pasuk that we learned this from? It's a pasuk in Amos that talks about how something. What was showed? I think something small that can basically have power over something powerful. Okay. Now listen to this. Reb Zera ashkach Rav Yehuda. So Reb Zera found Rav Yehuda. Okay. Now Reb Zera was a student of Rav Yehuda. Reb Zera moved. He made aliyah from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael. So he was a student of Rav Yehuda, and then he moved to Eretz Yisrael, and I think he became a student of Rabbi Abahu. We had a Gemara that we learned earlier in this Masechta that, right, it was one of those examples where Reb Zera, right, we had a student, Gemara also in Brachos with Rabbi Abba, but right there, right before he went to Eretz Yisrael, he stopped by Rabbi Yehuda to just hear one last of our halacha, because Rabbi Yehuda didn't want his students making Eretz Yisrael, because there was that pasuk that says, Bavela yuvo v'sham yiyu, I think. You go to Bavel and you'll stay there. Anyways, so Reb Zera ashkach Rav Yehuda. So Reb Zera found this Rav Yehuda. Da'avakoya pischa devei chamur, and Rav Yehuda was sitting by the entrance to his father-in-law's house. Okay, and Reb Zera found that Rav Yehuda was in a very good mood. And Reb Zera realized that this is his opportunity. He can ask Rav Yehuda, his teacher, about anything in the entire world, and Rav Yehuda will answer it. So Reb Zera jumped at the opportunity, and he said to Rav Yehuda, "My time ize maskan beresha. How come goats walk at the front of the herd?" Interesting that that's like what Reb Zera figured, like, here's my chance. I've always been wondering this. How come goats freaking walk in front of sheep? So v'hadar imre, and then comes the sheep. So Amalek Kibiyasa Shalom. So Rav Yehuda said to him, well, it's like when the world was created. The Bereisha Chashucha v'hadar Nehora, that at first it was dark and then it was light, because the goats are dark, followed by the sheep that are white. My time ahani mechason v'hani migalyon. So how come for sheep their genitals are covered by their tail, whereas goats they are revealed. They don't have a tail to cover their genitals. So hani de mechasinon minayu mechasyon. So sheep, where we use their wool, so they cover us, so therefore their genitals are covered. V'hani de lo mechasinon minayu migalyon. Whereas goats, we don't use their hair to cover ourselves, although we did learn that sackcloth is generally made out of goat hair, but okay. But since we don't, I guess for regular clothes, we don't use goat hair generally, so therefore we don't cover ourselves, so their genitals are not covered. My time Gamla Zutar Gnuvte. How come camels have short tails? Mishum da'achal kisei, because they eat thorns, and if they had longer tails, the tails would get caught in the thorns. My time Torah Aricha Gnuvte. How come oxen have long tails? So Mishum Dadari Ba'agme Uvari Lekarkushe Bake. Because they live, the oxen hang out in swampy areas, and they need long tails to be able to fend off the mosquitoes. My taima karna de kamtsa rikicha. How come, Reb Zera asked of Yehuda, the what are they called? The antennas? Yeah, the antennas of grasshoppers are soft. So the answer is mishum de daira bechilfe, because they live in plains, like open areas where there's grass. The ikasha Nadia umisavra. And if their antennas were hard, well then they would like bump into grass and get knocked off, and then they would be blind because they use their antennas for navigation. The Amar Shmuel, that Shmuel said, Haiman debai delisme likamta, if you want to blind a grasshopper, I don't know why you'd want to blind a grasshopper, or even why you'd have a grasshopper in the first place, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Lishlofinu likarne. Well, if you want to blind a grasshopper, remove its antennas. Okay. My taima haitimra de tanagolta madle leela. How come the lower eyelid of chickens cover their top eyelids? Meaning, generally when we blink, or I guess when most animals blink, so their top eyelid will cover their lower eyelid, whereas apparently chickens, it's the opposite. Their lower eyelid goes up to cover its upper eyelid. So the answer is the daire adape vi'ayol kitra misavra. The answer is because chickens at night they would go up onto like the rafters, I guess, to these like beams on the ceiling, and if there was smoke coming out of some kind of fire, it would get into their eyes, right? The smoke would rise up and get into the eyes of the chickens. So to prevent that from happening, their lower eyelids, kind of cover the upper ones so that no smoke will penetrate. Dasha derech sham. Dasha, which means a door, stands for derech sham. The way is through there. Darga, which are stairs. Derech gag. It's like this is the way to the roof. Matuchlisa masai tichle da. So matuchlisa, Rashi explains it as being some kind of a dip. The Safari explained it as being like spices. Okay. So that means masai tichle zda. When is this going to run out? Meaning because spices you usually use a little bit at a time so they can last a long time. Okay. Besa ba ve'esav ba. Besa, which means house, means come and I will sit in it. Biksa, which is a thin house, a small house. Ba be aksa, it means this like thin thing. Kufta, which the Safari defined as like some kind of barrel, which you can flip over and sit on it. So kof visiv means come flip it over and sit. Livne, which are bricks. Livne bane, it means for generations to come, right? Because bricks last a long time. Hotza, which is a fence made out of like thorn bushes. Chatzitza just means like chatzitza is like something that's just like in between something. Like oh gosh, how do you define chatzitza? Just like a blockage. Meaning the point is it's not like a real fence. You can easily just remove it. Chatzba, so some kind of a jug that you fill up with water. Shechotzev mayim minahar. So it stands for chatzba is shechotzev mayim minahar, that you like quarry, like kilu, like you're quarrying stones from a mountain. So you're like quarrying water from a nahar, from a river. Kuza, kazeh, like a small jug, is kazeh, which is a little funny. It means like this. Meaning, so I think it was Rashi explained, like, therefore you can go to your friend with like this little jug and be like, hey buddy, come on, can you just give me like a little bit of your wine? It's just kazeh. It's just like a little bit, it's just a small jug like this. Shutisa. So shutisa was like some kind of fabric made out of hadas, out of myrtle, like branches, and they would dance with it at weddings, I guess. So shtusa, it's like foolishness because you look like a fool when you're dancing with it. Okay, or maybe like a madman. Okay. Mashichla mashekula. So mashichla is like a big basin that you would wash your hands and your feet with. So it means that. So mashekula. So you wash everything. Mashkilta, which is sort of a smaller, more exclusive kind of receptacle that you would use in fancier situations. So mashakalta, which means to wash a bride or any other important person. Asisa chasirta, a mortar, which is like the receptacle that you then bang things in like spices and stuff to break them. So chasirta, it means lacking because it has like a big, indentation where you would like put the spices that you want to crush. Buchna, a pestle that you use to smash these things. So bova akena, it means come and I will hit it. Levusha, lo busha. Levusha, which means a garment, means not to be embarrassed anymore because you have clothing on. Glima, shanaise bo kigolem. So glima is like a cloak. Now a cloak doesn't have like sleeves or anything like that. It's just one big like blanket kind of thing. So when you're wearing it, you don't have like arms and stuff. So it's like a golem, like a big, just like a mass of like stuff, of like human mass. Gulta, which is like a fancy coat. Gali ve'esiv, it means take it off before you sit down because you don't want to ruin it. Purya, a bed. Sheparin v'ravan alea, that you procreate on it. Bor zikna, an empty pit. Bor zetnaki means this pit is clean. Sudra, which is some kind of turban that the rabbis would wear on their heads. It stands for the pasuk of Sod Hashem Li'reav, that the secrets of God are to those who fear Him. Apadna, a palace, apischadein, on this entrance, meaning you'll come to this entrance for whatever reason, whether it's for judgment, whether it's for parties, or whatever it is, to serve for service. Fine. Taner Rabbanan. Okay, so that was sort of the interaction between Reb Zera and Reb Yehuda. Interestingly, Rabbi Zera wanted to, I guess, answer all these interesting kind of questions. Okay? Taner Rabbanan, Shlosha, Kozman, Shemazkinin, Mosifin, Gvura. There are three things that the older they get, the mightier they get. Ve'eluein, and these are them. Dug, a fish. V'nachash, a snake. Interesting. There's a Israeli musical outfit, I think, called Hadag Nachash. I wonder if it has to do with this. V'chazir, and a pig. Why didn't they include pig in their name? I don't know. Maybe then it's not based on this. But maybe it is. Or maybe if it isn't, should we let them know? That could be interesting. Okay, the Mishnah then said, Shemen k'dei lasuch ever cotton. So we said that, if you take out enough oil to anoint a small limb, so then you will be chayiv for taking that out on Shabbos. Chayiv korban chatas. Amri dever Rabbi Yanai. They said by the Besmedrash of Rabbi Yanai, Shemen k'dei lasuch ever cotton shall cotton ben yomo. So enough oil to place on a small limb from a 1-day-old child. So that's not that much oil. Meisvei, but we have a kasha on Rabbi Yanai. Shemen k'dei lasuch ever katan v'katan ben yomo. We have a brayso that says that enough oil in order to put on the small limb of a child lasuch ever katan, to put on a small limb and a child that is 1 day old. So my love, how do we understand this brayso? So Mistam is talking about Aver Katan de Gadol. So what says Aver Katan? It's talking about the small limb of a big person, of a Gadol. The Aver Gadol shall Katan, and the large limb, but of a Katan ben Yomo. So now by the Besmedrash of Rabbi Yanai, they said it means the small limb of a 1-day-old baby, but we have this brayso that talks about a small limb and a 1-day-old baby. So we want to say that the small limb is talking about an adult, and the 1-day-old baby is talking about a large limb of that baby, but not the small limb of a 1-day-old baby. Amir lach tevei Rabbi Yanai, lo. So by the Besmedrash of Rabbi Yanai, they'll respond, no, you're understanding that brayso wrong. Hachi kamar, shemen, enough oil, k'dei lasuch ever katan shal katan ben yomo, right, the small limb of a 1-day-old baby. Kilu, and the brayso is saying a small limb, and which limb are we talking about? What person are we talking about? A katan ben yomo. Lema kitanai, let's say that this is a machlokas tanai. Right? Are we talking about a small limb of a small baby, or are we talking about, a small limb from an adult, or a big limb from a baby? So here's the brayso. So shemen k'dei lasuch ever katan v'katan ben yomo divrei Reb Shimon ben Elazar. So Reb Shimon says that enough oil to put on a small limb and a 1-day-old baby. Reb Nasan Omer says Reb Nasan k'dei lasuch ever katan, in order to put on a small limb. So my lab ba'akamifli. So let's explain the brayso like this. Reb Shimon ben Elazar savar, Reb Shimon ben Elazar holds ever katan shal katan, that it's talking about a small limb of a 1-day-old baby, right? Right? So kilu, when Reb Shimon ben Elazar says k'dei lasuch ever katan v'katan ben yomo, it means that a small limb and the person that we're talking about is a 1-day-old baby. Whereas Reb Nasan savar ever katan de gadol, ever gadol de katan, that when we say ever katan, right? A small limb, it could either be a small limb from a big when it says Aver katan, meaning either it means the small limb of a large person, or it means Aver shel katan, ki'ilu, a large limb from a baby, right? So either Aver gadol katan de gadol, or Aver gadol de katan. Aval Aver katan shel katan ben yom lo, but the small limb of a small baby, Reb Nosson would say wouldn't work. Okay, so we wanted to say that this is machlokas tanaim. Reb Shimon ben Elazar would say that, like the Beis Medrash of Reb Yanai, that's talking about a small limb from a small baby, whereas the other opinion would be Reb Nosson, who says no, it's either a large limb from a small baby or a small limb from a large person. So the Gemara says lo. No, don't understand the machlokas tanaim this way. The chuliyama ever katan de katan ben yom lo. Everyone agrees, both Reb Shimon ben Elazar and Reb Nosson would agree that the small limb of a one-day-old baby is not what we're talking about. V'leisa de Reb Yanai, and nobody agrees with Reb Yanai. V'halcha be'halka mifliye. This is what the machlokas tanaim is. Reb Shimon ben Elazar savar ever katan de gadol ve'ever gadol de katan ben yom ki adadinenu. Reb Shimon ben Elazar holds that the small limb of a large person and a large limb of a one-day-old baby are the same size. Reb Nosson savar ever katan de gadol in ever gadol de katan ben yom lo, whereas Reb Nosson says no, it would have to be the small limb of a large person, but the large limb of a one-day-old baby is not what we're talking about. My Have'elah knew how do we paskin. Tashma, come in here, we have a brayso de Tanya. Reb Shimon ben Elazar, Omer says Reb Shimon ben Elazar, Shemen k'dei lasuch ever katan, shal katan ben yomo. Reb Shimon ben Elazar says pretty clearly, enough oil to put on the small limb of a one-day-old baby. So we do see that Reb Shimon ben Elazar's opinion is, as we initially wanted to say it is, that it's talking about the small limb of a one-day-old baby, and Reb Yanai would say like that, and it actually is a machlokas tanaim. And I don't necessarily know how we'll pass. Mistam will pass. Yeah, I don't know if we'll pass like Reb Shimon ben Elazar or like Reb Nosson. I don't know. I think Rashi just points out that so it is in fact a machlokas tanaim. So that was Daf Ayin Zayin of Masechta Shabbos. Kind of interesting, right? Let's just do a quick recap. So we started off with talking about the size, how much concentrated wine you need in a kos shel bracha. So we had Rav Nachman in the name Rabbi Bar Avua, who said that it's a revius of a revius. So basically 1/16 of a log, right, or 1/4 of a revius of wine concentrate. That is how much you need for a kosher bracha. Rava said that we can actually learn this out from our Mishnah if you just kind of piece all the little clues together, right? Because he assumes that you need 3 parts of water for 1 part of wine, and we know that all the other liquids in the Mishnah are a revius, and we know that the Mishnah is talking about a kosher bracha. So if you kind of put all these things together, you can realize that it's 1/4 of a revius of wine concentrate to get a kosher bracha. Abaye asked some kashas on Rava, saying first of all, we have a Mishnah Nida that says that the ratio is 2-1, not 3-1. He also says, why are you taking into account water that isn't currently mixed in with the wine? Rava gave two answers for the question from Nida. One of them, it says that was specifically talking about wine from, where was that from? That was Yain Shironi, which was a weaker wine, or you could say that in Nida we're just talking about a shade of red, and to get to that shade of red, all you need is 2 parts water to 1 part wine, but in terms of actually drinking it, you would have 3 parts water to 1 part wine, and in terms of mixing together water with the wine, he says, look, we're talking about chashivos over here, and even if you're not necessarily, adding the water to the wine right now, we're talking about how much wine concentrate would be considered chashuv, and we say enough wine to add 3 parts water and get to revius. Fine. Then we talked about congealing liquids to solids. We had Reb Nosson's opinion, which is that by wine, 1 revius of dry wine would be the equivalent of, 1 kazayas of dry wine is the equivalent of a revius of liquefied wine. And Reb Yossi Bar Yehuda says that when it comes to blood, a kazayas of dried blood would be the equivalent of a revius of sort of liquefied blood. Reb Yosef wanted to say that Reb Nosson and Reb Yossi Bar Yehuda agree. But he said that each one can argue, could argue that they only say what they say in their opinion, in their case, right, that Reb Nosson says what he says by wine because wine is thinner. Reb Yosef Bar Yehuda says what he says by blood, which is thicker. Fine. Then we got into all of these different agadatas on Ein Zayin Amud Beis. Just different definitions of different things. And at the end, we got to a machlokas tanaim between Reb Shimon ben Elazar and Reb Nosson about when we taking out oil, is it talking about enough oil for a small limb for a small baby, or maybe it's enough oil either for a small limb from a large person or a large limb from a baby. So that was Daf Ayin Zayin, Masechta Shabbos. I hope you enjoyed, and have a great day.